We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. And by Skype, Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall, also president of the National Sheriff's Association. It's good to see him, and I'm glad you're well, my friend. We've got some phone calls waiting through the break, and let's go next to Leonard. Leonard, good morning. Do you have a question for the sheriff? Hi, Leonard.
I do.
Go ahead, sir.
My question is, are the people protesting and gathering in large groups to protest, are they not breaking the law? And why is law enforcement not doing anything to stop it?
If you want to comment about that, again, that may be more police department than sheriff's department, but your thoughts on that, and they certainly have a right to protest, just you want a social distance, right?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, again, and that would be probably in the hands of the highway patrol, just because it's at the Capitol, most of it. But yeah, I mean, I've seen, you know, God knows, just compounded even further. And I think about that. So we're gonna, you know, sanction you criminally by arresting you for protesting in an environment that we're asking you to not, or to social distance, and putting you in a jail that can't do that. So
yeah.
I don't disagree. People need to be held accountable, but we have to be reasonable. And jail has never been the focus of that. What I think they would do is fight those individuals and obviously remove them from the scene, but not bringing them physically to jail. I agree with the concept that we have an order. We got to maintain order, and people need to follow the orders of the governors and presidents and mayors. But physically arresting them would be the last thing we need to do, you know, in these situations. But hopefully we can, cooler heads can prevail. We need to get people back to work in some form, and we need to get people, you know, to understand all the difficulties that we're all going through.
A question off of Facebook from Tara asking you, Sheriff, no visitation, correct, at this point? I'm sure everything's closed off, but as things start coming back a bit, any idea on how you'll kind of open visitation back up?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and a lot of this is just ironic, really, the timing of everything. But if the COVID thing wasn't here, we were going to open up the new facility, you know, somewhere the first weekend in May, let's say. And so if you just let me go without COVID for a second, what we would do is, new facility opens up. We have a new phone vendor, basically, that we bid out 2 years ago, and so they've been waiting to open the building up. When all of that happens, the individuals that are incarcerated will be able to visit with a tablet, basically, online. So you don't have to drive down to visit. You don't have to come to the video visitation booths where a lot of jails do, where you have to go to the facility. This will be you'll be able to visit from your home, just like this. And so that's an opportunity, something we really want, because it reduces our inmate movement down. But that will occur once we open the new building, let's say the first weekend in May. So that'll allow that type of visit. We will also allow other physical contact visits once this COVID situation settles down some. But we've got a hiccup right now because we're trying to open the building, and the vendor, quite frankly, can't get here till April 29th because of restricted travel. All the equipment's here, but they got to come here and do the technical stuff of clicking everything, getting it ready to roll. So here in another week or so, we'll have the equipment up and running, and by the 10th of April, 10th of May, everything should be back to normal. But we've got a lot going on, moving inmates around and so forth, even that have nothing to do with COVID. But here real soon, we should be back to normal on visitation, and even have a new option for you. You know, there's a lot of video visitation systems around the country, basically, where you can go and you go to a facility, sit down in a booth and visit, like we're doing here today, Nick. And but what I've always struggled with is, to do that in Nashville would mean you'd have to drive down to the facility, pay to park, drive in traffic, get down there, come in the building, sit down, and then basically you're charged some form or fashion to visit. We at least have taken the issue away. You don't have to travel downtown. You don't have to come down. You can visit anywhere in the world online, and that's something I've been really anxious to get done, so we can reduce the need for the family member to travel and pay to park and do all those things, you know, once we get it up and running.
All right, let's take another phone call for you. We've got next on the horn is Ann. Ann, good morning. What's your question for the sheriff, Ann?
Well, first I'd like clarification on when visitation at the old jail was stopped, because I was under the impression that at least a week ago, visitation was still going on at the old jail and phones were not being cleaned in between visitations and masks were not being provided until mid of last week. My second question is, inmates have been considered an essential employee and still have been going out into the community doing roadside service, and I'd like to know, since inmates are considered essential employees, how many of your essential employees have been furloughed and or laid off that are not doing jobs, since you are not serving warrants and other essential jobs right now?
Okay, Sheriff.
Well, Ann's got Ruts coffee this morning. There's a lot going on there. So here's the thing. I don't know. Inmates are essential, if that's what you want to call it. There are functions that we perform. That inmate you saw out in the street somewhere wasn't alone. We were supervising him because we are essential. If you ask the inmates, they would much prefer to be out working outside than they had to be locked up inside of a facility where the potential spread is far greater. So that issue is really non-existent. I have no idea what she's talking about. We haven't always had masks, and so whenever she said that we implemented the mask, she might be right. A week and a half ago, whenever we got them, I never said that we've always had them. Once we got them, we issued those. What else did Ann say? I forgot what the other ones were.
Just in terms of visitation, I guess, and the phones and things like that.
Yeah. We have instructed everyone, staff and inmates alike, to clean all, not just the phones, but everything that we use, the facility, the building. I mean, it's not an easy. We've always had sanitation, issues, that we require and we try to maintain, but nothing like now. And so we're doing, I think, a very good job of trying to reduce all of that. Visitation was shut off. We sent out it was all over the media, so I forgot when that was, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I don't know if she was saying we didn't. I'm not sure what Ann said, but we are not doing visits. I think I cleared that up, so okay. I'm not real sure. Gotcha. Ann can email me. I'd be happy to get you an answer, Ann.
All right, let's go next on the horn to Pam. Pam, good morning. Hi, Pam.
Hello.
Go ahead. What's your question for the sheriff?
Yes, I was trying to see how, within the special way they was treating the asthmatic and inmates with lung and chronic lung problems. Is there any...
Okay, and I've had several messages on here on Facebook as well, alluding to inmates that you maybe are aware of have certain pre-existing conditions that make them potentially more at risk for COVID-19.
Yeah, and it's a really good question, by the way. One of the things that happened to us, and I say us, when this thing first broke, go back 2 months ago, and everyone starts to talk about what's coming, our healthcare provider in the facility, the health department, and our staff, obviously was doing all we could to try to figure out, the things that you need to be prepared for and worried about. And pre-existing conditions has been a consistent thought. For example, it was the first list of inmates that I sent to the courts and said, here are the folks that are higher risk in our population, over 60, all these other factors. So our healthcare provider is very keenly aware of every inmate, once they come in and they're being treated for those types of things. And so they have their hands around the idea of making sure that those individuals not only are receiving their normal standard treatment, but any risk associated with the COVID situation. But it's just like in the streets and the life that we all live. We are aware of their conditions, and we want to be super sensitive to what COVID could do to them, and that's obviously something we're worried about. But I am very comfortable that our health provider is aware of the conditions of the population. And then what our job is to work with them in managing where to house them, how to house them, and by all means try our best to ensure that they're not exposed or eventually at risk for getting COVID inside our system.
All right, good call. Let's go next to Tana. Tana, good morning. Question for the sheriff, Tana?
This is Tina.
Tina, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tina. My mistake.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I just wanted to sort of piggyback on what a lady said earlier. I didn't get all of it, but one of the things I think she said was that the people who are out there protesting are really misguided because, one, this is a global pandemic. It's not a joke. It's not the flu, and they're treating it like it's the flu.
And listen, we can debate that. That's a separate program. I don't know, the sheriff not dealing with that per se. We all have opinions on whether that's right or wrong on what they're protesting. And we may do a show on that later this week, but really that's kind of separate from what we're talking about this morning. Let's go to Ronnie on line 1. Ronnie, good morning. Hi, Ronnie.
Good morning.
Hey, what's on your mind, my friend?
I believe they do need to release the non-criminals, but I got a question about the stimulus package. I have friends that get it, but I've had about 10 friends, counting myself and my wife, we ain't got it. So are we going to get it? We're on Social Security and disability.
Everyone should get it. I don't know, Sheriff. I don't know. Well, at your pay grade, I'm not sure you'll get one. But, the bottom line on this for Ronnie and others, if you're getting a benefit through electronically, it should be direct deposited. You get it quicker. If you're not getting it that way, it's going to be mailed to you. And they're not mailing those out until starting May 1st.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. Listen, we got to take a break on that note, Sheriff. When we come back, more to talk about with you, more comments on Facebook, folks following us there, and more phone calls as well. Our final segment with Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall right after this.